So I've generally not been much on the style of video where the narrator is talking into their phone while they're sitting in a car, but a friend of mine 3 days ago, something like that, who has published a few books, wrote me a text message saying, "Hey, how serious should I take reviews?" And I'm like, boy, that's a deep question, actually. And I wanted to give him a serious and well thought out response, which text message is not really designed for. Actually, it's perfectly designed for it in actuality. If I could have had the time to sit there and really construct a text message and really pull my thoughts together. And I kept thinking, okay, I'll do it like a Tumblr post about it, like a microblog, a tiny blog post that will hit at the depth of my feeling about the subject of reviews. And I'm like in the middle of writing Girl in the Box 37 and have had other stuff going on this week, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna happen. So video in my car while I wait for my kid to be done with their activities. And so anyway, the subject of reviews is tough. And I wanted to tackle it from three different perspectives, because how much reviews matter to you is really entirely dependent on how far along in your career are, or where you're at in your career, more importantly. Because it's not even necessarily about, like, I've written 56 books myself and co-authored another 22 of them, all right? But I've also sold 1.5 million books. And I have people waiting for the next in each of my series. And so I don't generally read my reviews anymore. I let Mrs. Crane read them and tell me if there's anything I need to be aware of. Because I kind of know the flow of the story and what I need to make happen. And I assume that if I really hit the skids on a book, I will find out about it from interaction with my Facebook fans. Like, after Nemesis, Sienna book 27, I got feedback. Very angry feedback in a lot of cases. And so, that was kind of expected. Kind of not, because after 27 books of me murdering whatever character I damn well felt like, I thought you guys would be okay with it, like, by now. You'd be used to it. And mostly everyone was, but there was a small percentage that were just pissed because of the story repercussions, right? And that's fair. That's totally understandable, in fact. But that said, I don't read my reviews very often. And it's interesting because when I have read them in the past, they almost, in some cases, the angry ones especially, are like people are writing me a letter telling me what they hated about the work. I mean, I'm on Facebook, guys. You could write me an actual letter. My email comes out every release. You could write me an email there. I did have one guy. Oh, man. I did have one guy after Girl in the Box 10 came out, and then Limitless, the follow-up 11 now, but Out of the Box 1 came out. He wrote me the nastiest email about how much he hated those 10 books. And then he wrote a review for 11 on Amazon, and then cross-posted it on my website, and then sent it to me on Facebook in case I missed it. I'm like, you jerk. I didn't need that, you total a-hole. And he did all this before I had a chance to even respond to the first one. Not that I was enthused to respond to his overwhelmingly negative review. But to get back to the question at hand, I'm at a point where I know in general what my fans want, and if I go too far out of bounds, they're going to let me know in other ways, because I have a line of communication with them. If you're starting out, you have to listen to your reviews to a certain extent. When I released my first book, I'm learning to talk. I will get there eventually. When I released my first book, Defender, I actually hired a review service to give me honest reviews. And boy, did they. They got me several 5 stars, but they also got me a couple of 2 and 1 star reviews. One of them I didn't think was a very good review, because I'm not talking about just the 1 star here. I'm talking like they gave me a review that was like, I hate this book, it's trash, it sucks, and that's kind of it, right? Not helpful. But then I got a 2-star review that honestly was very constructive. It was, here's what the book's about, here's what I perceive to be the weaknesses. Not for me. It was very useful. Like I said, it was constructive. The person didn't just slash and burn and say, this sucks, eat crap, die. It was really detailed. Like the person put a lot of thought into it. And so for someone who's new at being an author, one of the things I would say is how serious you take the review has a lot to do with how serious the reviewer took reviewing the book. If they really delved into it and came up with a careful critique of where you diverged from genre expectations and where you really ran off the rails, or where the character development didn't go in the direction you expected it to, I might take that on board. There have been times too where, my Southern Watch series, I went too far with certain things, and fans let me know in one form or another. That's a form of review. And they're like, I can't friggin' believe you did this. And, posting on my website saying this is terrible and appalling. And I know this series is dark, but God, you went way off in this. I'll take it on board. Absolutely. My goal is to, write stories that surprise you. My goal is not to completely alienate the entire audience and piss everyone off. Sometimes that might happen just because it happens. With the twists and turns of the story. See above, read Nemesis. I'm going to take a review as seriously, if it gets to my attention. I'm going to take it as seriously as it demands to be taken. If it's a surface level review, what am I going to do? I didn't like it. All right, well, to quote The Big Lebowski, that's just like your opinion, man. But if you've got really serious insight on where it went wrong, sometimes, you might be bringing something to my attention I didn't know about. Other times, I've had people say, I can't believe you killed those characters. Well, I had it in mind for the story to go in a different direction. And then some people write a review where it's like, I wish this had happened instead. And they'll like write a full, detailed plot synopsis. I dashed their expectations. Oops. But at the same time, I had to write the story I wanted to write. I read a book recently. It's a conclusion to a series, and it went, in my opinion, I'm not going to name who it was, it went horribly off the rails. Horribly off the rails. I don't know if I've ever read a book series that I was more disappointed in the ending. And no, it's not Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin hasn't finished that one yet. Although, I will say the series end. Not how I would have done that. Anyway, I wouldn't write that guy a bad review because he took the story in the direction he wanted to take it in. He didn't meet my expectations as a reader, but I'm a writer. I understand how the game is. Sometimes I'm going to piss off readers because I wanted to write it this way, and they wanted this. My job in sticking to a genre is more to, meet your expectations as best I can. It doesn't mean I'm going to make everything be a totally happy ending every single time, but there's guidelines I try and stay within. I'm not going to have the end of Southern Watch be suddenly they get saved by an alien spaceship. That would be against the genre conventions in a not very logical way. And so my point to that is more along the lines of, sometimes a review is just a reader expressing their disappointment that the story went in a direction they didn't like. And that's a tough review to get, because what am I going to say? Like, go write your own freaking story. Go write some fanfic and just pretend they came out of the shower and Bobby actually never died. No, that's disappointment. That's a mismatch. But how serious should I take that review? I should take it seriously in the sense that I disappointed the reader, and that's a shame. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, as an artist, I had my own idea for how it was going to go. I'm going to pull you closer because it's raining, and I have a feeling it's getting loud. As an artist, I had my own vision for how it was going to go. And I can't bend what I wanted to do with the story to reader approval necessarily. I want to meet reader expectations. I don't want to do this thing by committee. That's a tough balance. And I do it as best I can, but you're never going to please everybody. So again, back to the fundamental question, how serious should you take reviews? You should take them very seriously, unless they're, this sucks, and don't give any elaboration why. They should be taken seriously unless it's, the author did this and I didn't like it, and it was something that you as an artist were absolutely set on, and it had nothing to do with you messing with the genre expectations. Like, if you write a romance and you don't have a happily ever after, that's on you, author. Don't do that. It's not a romance. People before that are like, Romeo and Juliet is my type of romance. That's a tragedy. Everybody dies. You can tell. There's no happily ever after. All right? Genre expectations. Don't completely buck them, okay? There's a lot I can do in fantasy. There's a lot more I can do in horror, Southern Watch fans, in terms of killing characters. Anyway, my point, though, is reader reviews are a guideline, but by the same token, I don't create art by committee. I just don't. So I take a lot of reviews very seriously if they come to my attention, fan feedback, and at the same time, sometimes I don't take it very seriously if it doesn't demand to be taken seriously. And the tough part about it is the reviews I take most to heart are probably the ones that could potentially be the most injurious to my feelings. Like, they're the ones that hurt. I read them and I'm like, this hurts because it's true. Whereas the ones that are like, you suck. Okay. Fans say different. You suck. No, you suck. It could be a quick name-calling contest, which I've heard Amazon has had in their review comments section probably more than one time in the past. Anyway, so that's my long-form answer. How serious do you take your reviews? As serious as they demand to be taken. The bad news for readers in this is that the authors who most need to take seriously constructive criticism reviews probably ignore them. They've got a Teflon sense of how good they are, and the authors who least probably need to see a negative review are the ones who are probably most hurt by them. I've been reading bad reviews for a while. I don't go out of my way to do it anymore, but they get sent to me sometimes, and it's just like, whatever. I think I have over 10,000 reviews on Amazon, so it's really hard to get me to give a crap anymore. I'm sorry. It's just being honest here. You got 10,000 reviews. 15 to 20% of them are negative. Take a lot to get me to want to wade into that. This is what it is. I'd rather talk to somebody on Facebook about it if they've got a valid critique. Anyway, but that is the answer to my question, which should be a more frequently asked question. But again, the authors who need to hear it will ignore it. And the authors who don't need to hear it are already folding up into the fetal position crying about the bad review they just got. C'est la vie.